says, "It's sleep time." "No, squeaked her bunnies. "We're still peekabooing." And hip-hop they hide under fat green leaves. Deep down in the woods, Mama Toad says, "It's sleep time." "No, hummed her toadlets. "We're still making up songs, and blop," they sang from the top of their logs. Deep down in the woods, on her branch above them all, wise Mother Owl hoots, "Hoo hoo, story time." And she begins. Deep down in the woods, bear cubs are nestling cozy in the leaves. Baby hedgehogs are curling into tight, warm balls. Bunnies snuggle close to each other, and toadlets settle softly in the goo-gulp mud. Wise Grandma Owl blinks her eyes. She looks around. "Hoo hoo," hoots wise Grandma Owl. "Sweet dreams." Are you still with me? One more story. Good night.